Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Dr. LJ of the Natural Wellness Academy. And this is an interview that I have been wanting to do for a long time. And I'm going to be introducing our speakers here today. Laura LaMarca signed up a few years ago for the Cannabis coaching program because she is an advocate of cannabis medicine. Her kids decided that she had a lot of passion about that and they wanted to support her vision. And so she signed up for the course, and really the rest is history, because I have to say, Laura, you have been one of the most successful cannabis coaches that we have. And even people who are in other coaching niches, because we cover a lot of different niches, spiritual wellness and mind dynamics and health coaching and neurodivergency. I think there is a lot to your story that people can learn from. So without further ado, I'm introducing you to Laura LaMarca and her daughter, Bailey LaMarca, who is, you guys are, as I understand, you're working together in both of the businesses, Canna for the Cure and Wellness Palooza. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. We're glad to be here. Thanks for having us. So, what do you want? Where do you want to
Well, I
start with
just kind of
how I
maybe
got
start with
there?
how you got started in your own medical background, that kind of made you, really, just really a fan of cannabis medicine.
Well, before I ever got into this field, I sold insurance and I worked in that industry. So I saw a lot of people, made a lot of friends, but I was in the car all the time. And I have, so a little background about me. I have lupus, I have fibro, I have spinal stenosis, degenerative disc, and PTSD. Well, I'm getting ready to turn 55, but when I was getting ready to turn 50, I was on 13 prescriptions and I hurt. I felt terrible all the time. I was 60 pounds heavier. I was a type 2 diabetic. I took migraine medicine injections and high blood pressure, cholesterol, opioid pain medicine, muscle relaxers. And the doctor was getting ready to add another one. I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. I said, I got a pill tray like my grandma. It sucks. I'm not even 50 years old. So I'm going to be tied to all this medicine. I said, I know that cannabis works. So I want to get my medical marijuana card. We lived in Illinois at the time. And so he said, well, you qualify with everything that you have going on. Well, back then in Illinois, you had to get fingerprinted, you had to get a background check, you had all this stuff going on. It was intimidating. I was like, okay, I'm not even guilty, but I feel guilty. It's like, this is too much. So, anyway, but I got through that process. Then I got my card and I just showed up at the dispensary and they were like, well, you have to register. And I said, who tells you that? Nobody told me that, and so I was just frustrated. I finally registered and did all the things I was supposed to do, and I went there the first time, and I felt like my grandma. I was annoyed. The music was blaring. These kids are young and they're all talking about grams and terpenes and shatter and this. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. The last time I bought pot myself, I was in college. It was a dime bag. I feel stupid. I got pissed and I left. And I came home and my husband's like, what's the problem there, Biscuit? You're a little upset. And I was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. So I went back and I talked to somebody else and I said, look, I don't want to hurt. That's it. I don't understand all this. If you could take the time to educate me, that would be great. But I just don't want to hurt. So can you help me with that? Well, we spent a lot of money and it wasn't the right combination of things. So I knew that there was a better plan out there. And I had done some research and I found the Natural Wellness Academy. And so I go to my husband and I was like, hey, I got this figured out. And he said, what's that? And I'm like, I know what I want to do. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a certified cannabis coach. He's like, you're the biggest stoner I've ever met in my life. That you're just trying to make up words now. I said, no, I'm serious. There's really this program. So anyway, so it was my oldest son, he's like, Mom, you know what? I think you can do that. I think you would be really good because you're just not afraid to tell it like it is. And I said, oh, cool. So anyway, so he pushed me and he's like, here, let me do this for you. So it was just a blessing. He's just a I just love him to death. No offense, Bailey. I love you to death too, but
I
it
only
was
do
just,
business with you.
but it was just so sweet that, here's my 20-something-year-old kid that was like, no, go for it, Mom. So, and it was a struggle. It really was a struggle for me to get through because fibro fog is no joke. And, it kicks in and, 3 o'clock rolls around and you can't string a sentence together. And I'm supposed to sit down and try to figure out all of this and how cannabis works in the body. And a couple of times I wanted to give up. I really did. I was like, I cried. I was like, I can't do this. This is too hard. I felt so sorry for myself, and boohoo and everything. And thank you, LJ, for kicking me in the ass a couple different times when I needed it, because it was like, no, you've got your kids that believe in you. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And so I was like, no, I can do this. And it was the more I went through the program, the more I understood, okay, I know why this isn't working because I'm not doing the right cannabinoids to deal with my pain. And so once I started learning all of that, that I had to lower the THC content, increase the CBD, and we started bringing all this stuff together that I was learning while I was going to school, I was like, this is fantastic. That endocannabinoid system saved my life. And I can say that with 100% confidence because once I learned that, we even have it in our book when we go out and we do education. We have the whole endocannabinoid system in our book that we share because it's just like, that's it. That's the key. So when I learned that endocannabinoid system going through the program, I went to my doctor and I said, I think I can get off this prescriptions. He says, no, you can't. I said, yeah, I think I can. And he's like, he just rolls his eyes because I was always just pushing the envelope, pushing the envelope. And I said, I know I have to get off these prescriptions the right way and I can't just stop certain things. So either we can do this together and we can help, or I'll just go find another doctor to help me. And he said, no, I laid it all out. I showed him the endocannabinoid system. I said, this is why I think I can do this. And he helped me, and it took a year, but we did it. We got off all the
Wow. You
prescriptions.
got off all of them?
I
Oh,
take 0 prescriptions. I only take the capsules that we make. So I work directly with these local farmers for all of our CBD and CBG. And then I have other local farmers that work on the THC side, and they give us our trim for free because they know we help people and we make medicine with that. Because in Missouri, they just passed this legalization. It was not good for Missouri, but you just kind of roll with it for right now because we got to catch things up until they take cannabis off the Schedule 1 drug. It's always going to be a problem, because they roll CBD into cannabis all the time. Perfect example, we were supposed to do a radio broadcast with the local radio station here later this month. Well, the lawyers canceled it. The lady was so upset. She's like, the lawyers canceled it. And I said, it's okay. We're used to it. We're used to getting squashed down all the time. I don't care anymore. Nothing's stopping me. So we'll show you our calendar in a little bit. This year, we are going for it. we're in farmers markets, and and everywhere we go, people are like, nobody's doing what you guys are doing. We just focus on education, and we just tell people, like, look, you can really get healthy using cannabis. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm totally serious. Back in the day, they used to teach this stuff in school. Apparently they don't anymore, but it's pretty cool, and we just teach people about the endocannabinoid system. They don't teach kids about homeostasis anymore. And it's
they
like,
don't teach
what?
doctors. What are you talking? I mean,
No.
doctor,
Well, that's what I told my doctor. I said, do you know about the endocannabinoid system? Well, he was a DO, so he did know,
mhm.
and he's like, I said, do you teach your patients? He said, nope. I said, shame on you.
Yes,
Shame on.
most disease is an endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome.
Yep.
So Bailey, just briefly, how did you get involved in this?
So, well, it all started because I was an athlete my whole life. And so just throughout the years, my back pain got worse and worse. And then I became a cheerleader, which really screwed my back up pretty well. But I was going through the doctor, getting all these x-rays, all that stuff at the same time she was going through the certification and stuff. And I was 15 years old and on a muscle relaxer 3 times a day and anxiety medication, all this stuff. So I was open to using cannabis because I had, was smoking pot as a kid, had high school kid,
Can you believe it? Oh my God.
What kind of mothering?
Wow.
And I just noticed how well I felt when I was smoking. So I was like, I'm open, curious to try it as medicine and stuff. So through trial and error together, we kind of did it, and it was just became really fascinating. I just was like, wow, there's a lot to learn in this. So we kind of just started doing it together. And then I went to college to get my bachelor's degree in graphic design. So I just became her behind the computer little person, making the branding, creating the logos, doing the websites and all that stuff. So I create all of our educational materials and our look and all that stuff, and just been educating, and we do the events together, and
I've got her from behind that computer now, and she's doing amazing. I'm so proud of her all the time. She's out there. I mean, we just did the Working Women Survival Show, and she's talking to people, and I mean, it's so cool to watch her grow. It is, because we're having so much fun, and we're helping a lot of people, and
but how wonderful, anybody doing this, to think that this is a business that you can create with your kids. There's been all kinds of, in the chat box, people are really complimenting you, with your mothering leadership and how fantastic your results have been. And yes, I do remember that you were having a tough go of it. And that is something with the Academy, is we do recognize with adult education, a couple things, like we were speaking before we started, that it's different when you don't have your parents breathing down your neck and saying, I paid for school, you better not give it up, and it's also when you're an adult, you've also, built up a lot more self-doubts about yourself. Everybody goes through a period in their certification process where you start to have those head demons coming in and self-doubt. And that's where the Academy is very different, as even though you have a mentor, we assign you a mentor who is already an expert in the field. And one of these days you're going to be mentoring too, because you're definitely becoming an expert in the field. But as academic director, I kind of keep my thumb on the pulse of everything that's going on, and I watch every student. And if I feel like somebody's lagging or the time is getting ready to expire, I'll reach out and offer counseling. And that can be anything from cheerleading to, I am a psychologist. It could be a counseling call. It could be tough love, which.
Yeah. And that's what I needed, was the tough love, because I was just feeling sorry for myself. And that's easy to do. You get sucked into that autoimmune thing, and you're like, woe is me, woe is me. Nah, screw that. No, it's not. You're no different than anybody else. You just get up, you figure out a way to manage your pain, and you go, and you don't use that as an excuse. And that's something that I'll always thank you for, because that was what I needed, because I've never allowed myself to stop or feel sorry for myself in my business like I was about to in my education,
right? Yeah.
So,
you had issues, from childhood that were coming in, and we talked about that. It's really true that, we all have that tendency to want to give up, but we're going to do everything we can at the Academy to push people through to do that. And it's interesting, because you have autoimmune disorders. And I have always found, there's a lot of people in the Academy in one of our courses, if it's cannabis, or it could be spiritual wellness, it could be the mind gut. And something that I have found is that people with autoimmune disorders, which I healed one, myself, they're always kind of like, they're healers. they feel the world's pain. They're usually very empathetic people. They want to heal the world, but they're wounded healers. So there's always some healing that needs to go on, which is why our courses, I mean, even in that module 7, we go into spirit too, not in any religious way, but, generally, for instance, even with cannabis, you have an ability really to tap into who you really are more too. And so we want to cover that. We want to cover the health issues and the mind issues and every aspect of it. So, now, a few months ago, we introduced you to Sean Baxley, who couldn't attend today, but he was excited that you were.
We love him.
We love Sean.
And his dogs love our Koopy snacks.
Oh, yeah, really? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we want to hear all about that. And he works with a company called NUG, NUGGMD, and they are the largest telemedicine company right now in the United States with over 1 million patients. And they were looking through, I see that Liz Maratea is here today, and they were looking for a school because they realized they needed to be able to recommend their patients, because the medical doctors either don't have the knowledge or they don't have the time. They can give you your card, but they don't really walk you through the process, just like you explained. And so they loved everything that they were hearing and seeing about the Natural Wellness Academy, and they chose us to be the academy that they would refer their 1 million+ patients to. And you went on it right away. You started getting medical cards through your Canna for the Cure, and they even sponsored something for you. So why don't you tell us about that?
Oh, we just love them. Sean's awesome. He really is, and he helps us with the regulations for the state and knowing the different things. So we have Canna for the Cure. We have 2 companies. We have Canna for the Cure. That's primarily where we focus with the medical marijuana. We help the patients get their cards. So NUGMD has a landing page on our Canna for the Cure, so we can send people right there, and then they actually talk with the doctor to get their medical marijuana card. And then once they do that, whether they come from NUGMD or we've sent them to the website, then we give them a free mini coaching session.
Right.
And sit down with them and say, okay, now, and we just start explaining things to them and educating them. And then if they're local, I tell them all the time, I have my medical marijuana card. I don't have a problem if they want to go to the dispensary, that I'll meet them there, because I can go on the floor and I'll help them. Because what we have found is the dispensary owners just want to cycle them in and cycle them out. And I get it. It's a business to them. I understand that. But there's people like me that come in. Well, my pain this week can be totally different next week. So what helped me this week, it may not help me next week. So I would love to eventually, someday, we're going to have the Canna for the Cure place. It's going to be our own place, and we're going to have our own grows, and we're going to have where you can come in, you can meet with a nurse practitioner. They can review what you got going on. We can make their medicine right there, and then while they're waiting, they can get a massage. They can take a class on education, or we're going to have a cafe where they can get something infused with cannabis or not. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We are shouting it out in the universe. I don't know when. I might be dead.
You will make this happen. I know.
Yes, we are so excited. We are so excited about that. So this year we were like, you know what? If we're going to make it happen, people have to know who we are. So we just went for it. I mean, we got approved for farmers markets that they haven't approved CBD people before. They were like, we love what you're doing with the education. Cause we're like telling people all the time, we're like, hey, we just want people to get healthy. We don't care if you get high. That's your deal. That's not our deal. Our deal is getting you healthy, and so, we've learned different things. So because I'm certified in Missouri, I can legally charge people for counseling because I'm certified, and then I can give them THC for free. So this is perfect for us because, everything is so regulated and icky and yucky and stuff like that. We're just helping people. Mm-hmm. And then we just give them their medicine, they're sitting down and they're they're paying me for the education. And then if they want to learn how to make the medicine, I go to their house and I teach them,
What a fantastic idea. It's just like with health coaching, sometimes when I first started, I would go to people's home and do pantry resets for them too, and show them, we're not going to throw this food away, but this is, or take them on a shopping trip to show them how to choose the food better. So yeah, I mean, what you're doing is great. And that's the thing for anybody who's watching this, who doesn't know a lot about cannabis medicine, it's not just the weed, there's different strains, and each one of the strains have certain, what are called, they're really the essential oils of the cannabis plant, which are called terpenes. And we teach you about the terpenes and how to find that combination. Some of them are uplifting, and some of them are good for pain, and some of them help you sleep at night, and some of them just help you cope with life better. Like, you both had that, PTSD. That's great. That's great that you put something like that together. Rebecca did that too, put something together that she shares with her clients. The education piece is so important, because you're right. In a dispensary, most of the people who are working behind the counters have maybe a bud tender's education, and they're there to sell what they're told that they need to sell. Maybe there's a surplus of flour, there's a surplus of something, they're going to kind of push it. But if you don't know what you're doing, and especially as a coach, we teach you, you're dealing with people, for instance, like you have type 2 diabetes, you don't want to send them the edibles way, because perhaps that's not going to work. You have to know also how it's going to interface with their medication. Again, a lot of medical doctors don't know this. Dr. Bridget Williams, one of our first graduates, she and her husband, both medical doctors in Ohio. And she said, like when we learned about the endocannabinoid system, in your course, she said, I turned to my husband and said, like, were we absent that day in medical school? Because they never taught us about that. So I want you to show this beautiful commercial kitchen that you have set.
We are so excited.
Stuff. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you're doing, and I know everybody else is too.
So we just moved out here. I'll narrate. You go. I'll show everybody around. So we bought this house out here in Winfield this past summer. We'll be here for a year in June or July. And so we were just overgrown and dog treats everywhere and stuff. And so I told my husband, I'm like, hey, I think we need to put a commercial kitchen in. He's like, oh my God, this is going to be expensive. And it was, but it has been perfect, because we're licensed with the Department of Agriculture as a licensed.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, with our dog treats. So we have that. And then we started with our capsules. So we work directly with two farmers in Missouri. We work for one with where we get all our flour, Grandpa's Family Farms. We love them. And so we get all our CBD flour, and this is how we get our flour. So, not a lot of people get to see this, so it is kind of fun. But,
holy moly.
Yeah. Hello. But this is CBD flour. And so what we do is we process this and we make it into oil. And we do it the same way. I can show you. Like here, it is the finished product when it comes out. So that's kind of
a FICO of CBD. Yeah, would be full extract cannabis oil. It's also, Rick Simpson's oil. If this helps. Now, you're making dog treats, and there's perhaps a lot of people watching this that don't understand or don't know that CBD can be very beneficial for our fur babies. And I didn't know that you were making those, and I'm going to be ordering those from you.
Oh my gosh, we can't keep these in stock. It's insane. So these are our Koopy snacks. See, look at Bailey designed our labels too. Aren't they just amazing? amazing.
Wow. I love
So,
that you're doing
and
this
then
together.
over here, so she created, so this just shows, so many people don't know, people just get the CBD for their dogs because they're, fireworks or storms or whatever. But this is, so it shows the different potential benefits for giving your pet CBD. It reduces anxiety, but it's also good for anti-inflammatory, pain, immune system. Our neighbor next door, their dog has this massive hot spot. They started taking both the oil and the Koopy snacks. That's the only thing that's taken this dog's hot spot away, where the steroids that they were getting and stuff just weren't even working. It's just crazy, the different things that we've been doing. So I don't know. It's
show them the capsules.
Oh yeah, and then the capsules here. I'll show. Let me grab the capsules. So we have.
So Laura, while you're getting the capsules, I want to ask you, so you figured out which terpenes and which strains would help to deal with the various medical conditions that you have, and that's how you started creating your own medicine. Okay.
Yep. We just started creating a chart. And so here's something that I tell people all the time. There's certain indica strains which normally would make you very relaxed. Well, be having PTSD, they throw me into a panic attack. So it's very important that people really understand the strains that they're putting in their body and knowing if that strain is going to be something that affects them,
or breaking the strain down into the terpenes, because some people would do well with indica. I happen to be the opposite, that certain sativa strains kind of give me anxiety attacks. So
well, and normally your sativa strains are going to lift you up, and do those things, but it's weird. And then that's what I tell people all the time. Cannabis affects every single person differently. So you have to know how that affects. Same with our CBD capsules, she can take the CBD capsules during the day. They make me sleepy. I have to wait until bedtime to take CBD.
Yeah, it is really a body chemistry thing, which is proof that cannabis educators, cannabis coaches with NUGMD, they're calling us cannabis specialists, are so important. I always say, this is not a field that there is any competition in at all. No. You could have thousands of patients. And yet if I could tomorrow release 10,000 cannabis coaches just in the United States and Canada alone, there wouldn't be enough to go around. Let's see, we have a question from Rebecca. How do we send our clients to you for CBD products?
Oh, they can go straight to the website. So I think
so that would be, I'm going to put this on, below the YouTube. I'm going to have your websites and how they can contact you. So that would be the Wellness Palooza one rather than
Bailey just put it in.
I just put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to also cut and paste those because I don't think the chat will show up, when in the video. So I'll have that all. All right. I have, so a question for you. Okay. You've done a lot of original ways, and there's going to be people watching this who are coaches, maybe not in cannabis. We have some people on here who are coaches in different areas. What are some unique ways? Like, for instance, I know you went to a blues festival. How did that work out for you? And what are some unique ways that coaches can get the word out? Because you do have to think in terms of marketing and go outside of the box like that.
Farmers markets are excellent. So this year we actually got approved for 3 different farmers markets, which is big because they are very cautious about the whole CBD thing. And the reason that we got approved is because we focus on education and we work with local farmers. So they know that everything that we make and we get in, it all comes from Missouri.
You're supporting local businesses and local growers. Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned a busy work, like speaking schedule. Did you want to, Bailey?
We're really excited about this. So at the Working Women's Survival Show is something that they do here every year, and it's a big event. There's so many women that come through this. Well, last year we did our first booth and we did well. People, welcomed us, but this year it was great because people were glad to see us back. So it was like, okay, this is really good. Well, I swear it was like God was just hovering over our booth and picking the right people out of the crowd and dropping them in our booth. So we had the one guy come in and he was in charge of all the vendors for the Lincoln County Fair. Well, out here, county fairs in the Midwest are a big deal, and a lot of people go to these. Well, this Lincoln County Fair is literally 15 minutes from our house.
And it's the third largest one in Missouri.
Yeah, it's the third largest one in Missouri. And so he was like, we love what you're doing. So you're going to be the only CBD vendor at the fair. And we're like, whoa, okay. We don't know if we could keep up with that, so that happened. Then a lady from Lutheran Senior Services came and she said, we absolutely love what you're doing with the education. Would you come to our independent retirement communities and do an education event? I'm like, yes, we do these wellness palooza parties. And so we tell people all the time, they're like Tupperware, but it's fun. We bring cannabis. And we have so much fun. Yeah, we do. And so we take the education material and we just talk to people and about cannabis and how it helps the body and how it helps the pets and, just different things that you can do. We teach them how to roll a joint, and just different stuff that they may not even know how to do, and how you can create that entourage effect. And we're having so much fun. So we wanted to take that in a public arena this year. And so we're doing, so we got the Lincoln County Fair. Now we have this Lutheran Senior Services that came through. And then the next thing we got approved for these farmers markets. Well, the one is weekly. So it's perfect. That's exactly what we have been waiting for.
Keeps you out there, people see you. Sometimes it's like Christina Rusola says, who is one of our top experts and mentors. Sometimes people have to see you like 7 to 9 times, to really key in on what you're doing. And so you've got, you've just got to get out there. It's not just getting certified. It's also building your practice. And we try to give you those skills too, to help, build your practice, everything from the essential effective coaching module to the masterminds that we do to having events like this too. How important do you feel it is for somebody to get certified in this before they attempt to do it?
It's very important. We have the certification that we have out on the table and it gains credibility, that, and then, we put together things like this, that shows, we're not just don't slap a sign together that you write with marker and tape it to a table. Nobody's going to take you serious.
Again, be sophisticated, simple, but yet sophisticated. Bailey, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, because we've been doing this for almost 5 years.
Well, three
years now. Sorry. Time doesn't make sense anymore.
I know it doesn't.
But just in the 3 years, I feel like I've learned so much. And even when we go to events, there's still times where I'm like, yep, you're going to have to ask my mom that question because I don't know. So I feel like that's where the certification comes in, because you're forced to sit down and learn all this information, and showing education at the booths, not just worrying about selling your products, makes a huge difference at events like this and stuff like that.
And I do want Laura to comment on the education, because it's not your typical, because I'm a PhD, I qualified to do a medical cannabis thing. And I didn't retain anything. We teach in our instructional design is very unique in the sense that we get you to be actionable from the very first assignment. You're kind of practicing being a coach. So can you comment on that?
And how we do the education?
No, on how the way that the Natural Wellness Academy did the education, did it stick better for you that way?
It did, because I was able, I have to see it and hear it for me. So that was the good thing of the way you had it with the video. Then we had the book, we had,
the MP3, the MP4s that you could download. And
so being able to, I had to hear it multiple times. And then that was a big thing for me.
Yeah, because we all have different learning channels, how we learn. You're obviously an auditory. I'm a visual, but I don't like to watch things. I like to read. I want to read things, but a lot of visuals like to watch things. So we've lots of, there's a lot of webinars, but it's not just all webinars, it's reading, it's doing some of your own research. It's practicing too. Sometimes we say, hey, pretend you're going to be on a podcast. What are your talking points? And not only does that let you kind of really define what you know, but it gives you, my dogs are going in the background, giving us a little concert. But sometimes what it does is it gives you that confidence. Like, I think I could go on a podcast. I know enough now, and that is what we consider to be very proactive. So, is it okay for me to open up for questions now, or did you?
Yeah.
So
the one thing I would like to say is always be learning, always studying new, finding new articles. She does a great job too of all of our education, of always making sure that she's doing the right research, and we, we're always noting, giving people credit and things like that. There's a lot of good information that's already out there that you can use in your practice. Just give them credit for it.
Yes, you should do that. I mean, we curate a lot of information and we create original information too, but yes, that's important. And also we down the road are planning on doing more of an advanced training too. And also we're starting our cannabis retreats this year too. In fact, Sinead, we're having a meeting on this tomorrow, and those will be opportunities. For instance, one of the things that they'll be experiential and they'll be educational, so that perhaps, we show you how to infuse butter, to make candy butter, and then we'll make something, a dessert that we can all, share that evening and things like that. So that people, because, there's a lot of generations. I mean, you and I are similar. You're younger than I am, but, in our generation, it was very cool to do pot. But later on, there was DARE, in the time of your daughter, and there was Nancy Reagan who had said, just say no. And, put a big pall on, on cannabis. And so just, getting past people's, prejudiced against this, it's important. We have to educate people. And so sometimes people want to go to a cannabis retreat because they're going to have an opportunity to be educated and be around people, and not, because they want to know what they're doing. If this really helps people like it has so incredibly and miraculously helped you, we really want, people to learn about this. Lizzie has, there's nothing made me more curious about drugs than DARE.
Totally agree. Yeah. I was like, well, that's going to get kids to smoke pot everywhere. What the hell?
But it's interesting. I do Pilates, and when it's April, I'm wearing my, my cannabis leggings, and I remember somebody was like, "Oh, look at LJ, she's wearing cannabis." I was like, we're starting this back in 2020. We were going to start our retreats. Obviously, the universe had another plan for those years, and I was like, we're going to start doing cannabis retreats. And I do Pilates in kind of an upscale neighborhood, and a lot of these women who are like in their 40s and 50s, part of that generation that maybe they experimented in college, but then they went on to maybe, wine and martinis, but they were coming up to me and going, I want to go to a cannabis retreat, and so because they would like to be in company, when they're trying it out again and learn, because again, the goal, like being a baby boomer, I had to learn that the goal is not to get stoned. The goal is healing. And I had to learn about CBD just like you did, and learn about finding the proper strains and terpene combinations too. Just so impressive. Guys, do you have any questions for Laura and Bailey?
Oh, here's our capsules too. So these are the new ones. So these are the CBD, CBG capsules that we make. And same way, I make the oil the same as it's the FICO oil. And then what we actually do is infuse the terpenes into the MCT oil that go into these capsules. But then we also have capsules that are just terpene only. We have an anxiety and a pain blend.
Really?
And that is good because of the first responders, but we're actually getting ready to switch over to using a distillate on our CBD side, because then we can completely remediate all the THC back out of the capsule, so we can Because right now we have to tell people it all depends on you,
Yeah.
that it can have it, because this is a full spectrum where we're going to switch over to the distillate where it'll be an isolate and we won't have that. And we'll be able to use that same big batch to do the capsules, the dog treats, and our bath salts. Did we show them the bath salts?
No, we didn't.
Oh, they're
The
amazing.
idea of the isolate, for those people who are watching and don't understand, is the isolates would not contain any of the cannabinoid called THC, which could show up in a drug test. It's good if it does have a little bit of the different cannabinoids like CBG and THC, because that, when you mentioned the words entourage effect, they seem to work better when they're working in harmony. However, if you are a first responder, like you say, and you're going to be drug tested, and a lot of the isolates are not good, because they're almost overcooking, over removing, but it sounds like the fact that you're putting in those terpenes, that's fantastic. Now, most of that stuff, you can't sell over state lines though, right? Anything they have.
We can on the CBD side. The only, there's 2 states I think left that you can't send CBD to.
New Jersey.
Is it New Jersey? I can't remember. I'll have to look that up. Sean
Yeah,
would know. See, if Sean was here, he would know. But
Sean would know, about that.
But otherwise, we can't send THC over state lines. But we don't sell THC. We give that away for free. So we're gifting it, but you still don't want to send that over.
Yeah, and I know that for a while you couldn't even sell CBD in Texas, but I think now,
that's changed. Tennessee's lightened up too, but I want to say it was, I can't remember right now. I should know.
New Jersey's fine. But we'll figure that out and let people know. Before we turn off the recording, do any of you guys have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, and don't be shy.
No question, but thank you. This was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that your daughter is following in your footsteps to be a great leader and speaker.
Thank you.
Isn't that incredible? I love that. I mean,
that's so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, and how many people?
If I hurt like her, we should do this business together so we're not hurting together. We hurt together at the beginning, and now we are up and moving and don't let anything bring us down now. So
well, that's another reason that we're switching over to the distillate too, because when we make the FICO oil, we extract it off the plant using Everclear. We think she's allergic to alcohol. Because if it's not, you can't extract 100% of the alcohol back out. So we're going to try a different avenue, because we had also looked at, so I can buy an ethanol extraction as well, but it's still leaving that alcohol in there. So we're just trying different things, because, I try to be mindful. What if we have a client that wants to take our CBD capsules and they're a recovering alcoholic? What if that minute bit that's left there, what if that happened? I would feel terrible. So, it's just those different things that you kind of have to start thinking ahead. Okay, what about this? Or you don't want to be doom and gloom all the time, but you have to think about those things. And
even Lizzie said some faiths, abstain completely. Like if you're selling to people in Utah, or you have people who are Mormon, and some people, who are in recovery cannot even take that small amount of the THC in the full spectrum.
And that's also why we did create the terpene capsules too, for the people that just can't have cannabis, period.
Yeah.
So then they're still able to maintain their pain or anxiety in a natural way. But
I sometimes think I'm a little allergic to cannabis too. So I definitely want to order some of those from you and try that out, for sleeping. Okay, guys, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to stop the recording. I mean, we always stay a little bit, and, some people don't like to ask questions on camera, and I understand. But for those of you who are watching, we are the Natural Wellness Academy, naturalwellnessacademy.org. Check us out for our certifications. We are recording this in March of 2023, which is our 10-year anniversary, was March 3rd. We enter now our second decade, and we do have a special that if anybody does sign up for the cannabis course or a couple of other of our courses that are qualifying, we believe very much in casting a wider net. You know, if you're working as a cannabis coach, having a holistic health coaching might help. If you're working in mind dynamics, understanding how the subconscious mind works, these are courses that you can get, you know, for free too, that are like a $1,500 value. So just wanted to put that out there. Check us out. You can always reach out to speak to one of our mentors. We have our student ambassador on here, Rebecca. She's also available to give you a walk through the course. And we'll have our contact information here too. Laura and Bailey, thank you. You are such an inspiration. And I just love what you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. We love it too. I mean, I say it a lot on the Facebook, but natural wellness, this whole thing was just life-changing. It really has been. I mean, it's just, I was born to do this.
Evidently. And that's why I made sure you did it. And I'm so
well,
happy.
thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for pushing me.
We have a lot of fun.
We do. We do.
And that's
have a
what
lot
it's
of
all
fun.
about. Coaching is a privilege to be able to work with people in whatever your coaching niche is. It is just a wonderful thing, something you can do virtually too, you know, no matter, you know, I always tell the story. Liz is on here. She had somebody in Finland where they don't even have CBD, and she was helping them find the terpenes in food, you know, and that works too. I mean, there's so many different ways. And of course, she was working with this person virtually in Finland. You know, you just have to work out a time thing too. So all over the world. All right, I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you.